About a week ago, I got the Godzilla Showa Criterion Collection, which last night allowed me to watch one of the many Showa sequels that I've never seen before, Mothra vs. Godzilla. In my current marathon of the Showa era, this was the first film I came across that I had not already seen before, so since this was my first time watching it, I realized I would be able to do an official review on it. So, let's get started. Mothra vs. Godzilla, also known as Godzilla vs. the Thing, released in 1964 and is the fourth installment in the Godzilla Showa era. It was directed by Ishiro Honda, the man who directed many other Showa kaiju flicks, including the original Godzilla, and the music, by far one of the most memorable parts of this film, was composed by Akira Ifukube. Coming right after King Kong vs. Godzilla, it continued to strengthen Godzilla's cultural significance outside of Japan that its predecessor had already established before it. To this day, it is considered one of the best Godzilla Showa films, only topped by the original. At least that is the fandom's general consensus. But what are my thoughts on this film? I mean, I can't really tell you if it's the best Showa sequel or not because I haven't seen all the Showa films, but I can at least tell you what I feel about this movie. So here are my thoughts and opinions on Mothra vs. Godzilla. Quick spoilers warning, because I will be relaying the entire plot, or at least the basics of it, but I do have a bad memory, so it might not be really accurate, but I'd still recommend watching the movie before watching the video. So basically, this giant egg or whatever it's called washes up on the coast of Japan, and this group of fishermen, they bring it onto shore, and then they sell it to this like greedy businessman, and then he plans to build I think like a amusement park around it to make money off of it, and then so but then our main characters, who are like a group of news reporters who are doing a story on the egg, get intercepted by like the two little Mothra twins. I forget what they're called, but they're like the tiny identical girls. Anyway, the Mothra twins tell them basically that the egg is Mothra's, and if they don't get the egg back to Mothra, then it will hatch and destroy everything in its wake while it feeds. So they try and go and convince the greedy businessman to give the egg back to Mothra. They even show the Mothra twins as proof that the egg is actually Mothra's, but instead of giving me the egg back, they instead offer to buy the Mothra twins. Anyway, they successfully build the amusement park, sue the main characters for slander after they tell everybody that they're not giving back Mothra's egg, yada yada. But it turns out that Godzilla still exists, so he wakes up and starts wreaking havoc on Japan, and the main characters realize they're going to need Mothra's help in order to stop him. So, meanwhile, it turns out that Mr. Greedy Businessman owes a lot of people money for the purchase of the egg and the building of the amusement park. So he goes to his other greedy businessman friend to try and get money to pay off the angry guys. But the guy refuses to give him money, so he knocks him out and attempts to steal his money, but then his friend wakes up and shoots him in the forehead, and then I have a bad memory, like I said, but I think they both die. I'm not 100% sure. I'd have to rewatch it to get that detail. But anyway, so the main characters go to Infant Island and try to convince the natives in order to get Mothra to fight Godzilla for them, but they say no because he didn't get back our egg. But then the Mothra twins bump in and they're like, nah, it's all cool. Mothra's agreed to use the last of her strength to kill Godzilla for you. Why? I don't know why. She just does, apparently. So anyways, Godzilla tries to attack Mothra's egg back at Japan, and then Mothra swoops into the rescue and fights Godzilla for like 10 minutes before she just kind of dies. And then but her egg hatches, and then these two larvae come out of it, and they chase Godzilla to an island where they cover him in silk and then throw him into the ocean, and then he just doesn't come back out. So that's pretty much the gist of it. Like I said, I have an awful memory, and for some reason I did not write a script for this section of the video, so that's why it's so janky, I guess you could say. But yeah, the plot of Mothra versus Godzilla. Alright, so now that I've recounted the entire plot for you, what exactly are my thoughts on it? Well, compared to the other Showa films I've seen, this plot works way better. The characters are pretty flat, like in most kaiju flicks, but the human plot is still pretty good. I felt like the balance between monsters and humans was done pretty well, except for the first 40 minutes or so when it's all humans and no monsters, and I just kind of got bored. But hey, it's hard for a monster flick to even have a balance between humans and monster plots, so I'll give the movie credit for that. The monster plot, even if there really wasn't much of one, was still pretty fun. I mean, it's always fun to watch people run away while Godzilla completely decimates a city. The first 40 minutes were kind of slow, but after the pacing picked up, I stopped checking the time. It wasn't exactly hyper-paced, but it was going fast enough to hold my attention. Mothra vs. Godzilla's plot and pacing may not even hold a torch to the original, but it's god tier compared to some of the other Showa sequels I've seen. But other than that, there's not really much to say about it. So I've decided to rank this category. Human plot, 8 out of 10. Monster plot, 7.5 out of 10. And pacing, 7 out of 10. Pretty consistent. But can it hold those high scores? Let's find out. The special effects are definitely one of the best parts of this entire movie. The suitmations and miniatures are masterclass for the 60s, and I love the fight scene between Mothra and Godzilla. I also can't help but love the Goji suit. Its slightly buffer body and pudgier nose is definitely a step up from King Goji's slender body and frog-like face. I do have one problem with it though, and that's that the upper lip, I guess you could call it, flaps around a lot, almost as if Goji has bulldog cheeks, but you get over it after a few minutes. Also, the puppeteer work on Mothra and her larva is stellar, and like I said, top notch for a 60s kaiju flick. The explosions and miniature work is pretty impressive as well, and it really complements the amazing suitmation and puppet work. That's pretty much it for this category, so here's my ratings for this topic. Suit design, 9 out of 10. Suitmation, 8 out of 10. Miniatures, 8 out of 10. And finally, puppeteer work, I give a 9 out of 10. More consistently positive ratings, but will it hold? It's a foreign kaiju flick. There's not really much to say about the acting. It's definitely not Oscar winning, but it's also not unwatchable. There are some good moments, and then there are those moments where it almost takes you out of the film. Now, I watched it subbed, so any dialogue was read, but what I did read was pretty good. And even if I don't understand Japanese, I can still believe that the lines I'm hearing are being delivered by real people, even if the performance isn't exactly something that would win you an Academy Award. So, not much to say here, but these are my ratings. Acting, I give a 6 out of 10. Dialogue, 7 out of 10. And delivery is also a 7 out of 10. Some lower ratings this time, but I assure you, we will see some higher scores in our final section of this video. The music in this film is just incredible. The motifs are so iconic that they are still found today in the Monsterverse and all across the rest of the franchise. The way it's paired with the monster scenes is incredible as well. The Godzilla intro in this movie is one of my favorite Showa intros thanks to the music. With the way his tail rises out of the ground as the music swells, it's just all incredible. This is truly one of Akira Ifuku's best soundtracks, and is definitely one of my favorite parts of this film. Overall, a solid 9 out of 10 for this category. Overall, after my first watch, I'm rating this movie an 8 out of 10. It's got average acting, but an enjoyable plot and masterful special effects and music. It's definitely the best Showa sequel I've seen, and I would definitely recommend it to someone who knows what they're getting into with the acting. So yeah, those are my thoughts on Mothra vs. Godzilla. Definitely worth a watch, just like this video was. Speaking of, thanks for watching. Quick note, I'm sorry this video didn't feel like a true review. I just decided to go over the topics and parts of this film that the fandom mostly talks about. But, yeah, so, Thanks for watching again, I guess. If you want to learn more about my opinions on movies, books, TV shows, and everything like it, then I have a Letterboxd, Goodreads, and Serialized account that I will link in the description. So, yeah, that's it.